Alright, first up, we got Shrimpo, and, I think it's pretty obvious where he's going. F tier. Alright, next up, we got Scraps. Now, Scraps is, in my opinion at least, the second worst character right beside Shrimpo. Like, she has 2-star movement speed, which, isn't that bad. But, like, when you pair it with something like 5-star stamina, you're gonna have to use your entire stamina bar just to get away from a Twisted. I mean, her ability's pretty decent, but, she's gonna need, like, higher stealth to actually use it effectively in case there's, like, a Twisted on who Scraps is latching onto. And not to mention that Scraps' ability can cancel if the person that they're trying to latch onto goes behind the wall while they're trying to latch onto them. So yeah, F tier. Alright, up next we got all the D tier tunes, starting with R&D. Now, R&D isn't really that bad, but it's really, really situational on how you can use R&D effectively. And if there's like something like a really fast Twisted on like an even number floor, which on even number floors are gonna be slow, and you'll have a distractor, you gotta be really careful where if it's like a fast Twisted on the odd floor, like you get 5-star movement speed, you don't really need to worry that much. But in cost of that 5 movement speed, you only get 1-star extraction speed. And yeah, it's a very, very situational tune, and that's pretty much the only reason why I'm putting R&D in D tier. Alright, next up, we got Poppy. Now, you know, usually I say that the starter tunes really aren't that bad, but Poppy, I've really realized how bad Poppy really is. Like her like extraction speed and like her skill check, all the stuff like that. That's not bad at all. But it's her ability what trips me up. Her ability gives you a speed boost when you're hit for a few seconds, and like it's a passive, so it's like you can't really use it much unless you're like on purpose trying to get hit. So like that's pretty much the only reason why I'm putting it in D tier. Alright, now I'll be listing all of the C tier tunes, starting with Rudy. Rudy's a pretty good character. I like him, but like he's just a copy of Flutter. But he does have a way shorter cooldown on his ability than Flutter does, which I really like. And you can pair this with like Ghost Snakes to make the cooldown even shorter, which is amazing. And yeah, he's just basically a starter Flutter, I guess, because he just has 3 stars all across the board. That's really all I gotta say about Rudy. C tier. Next up, we got Toodles. Now, Toodles, she isn't that bad as some people say. She's actually pretty decent for a starter character. Especially since you can gamble for another stat boost. Like if you're on machine, you can gamble for like extraction speed, which really makes a difference, or like movement speed. But you gotta be really lucky when you're rolling. It's kind of similar to the Enigma. That's kind of the whole point of both of them, actually. Alright, C tier. Next up, we got Roger. Now, pretty much the only reason why I brought Roger so high up is because of his extraction speed. Sure, the 2 times research is really helpful, but, it's not that much of a big deal to get that research slower than how you would get it with Roger. Right? And Roger's also like attuned with really slow movement speed, which I really don't like. anything with like 2-star movement speed or less, I really don't like. His extraction speed, his 4-star extraction speed is literally the only thing carrying him up to C. Alright, now we got the two cousins, Cosmo and Ginger, because to me they basically are the same tune. You know, I know they have a little bit of stat differences, but you know, that doesn't really make a difference to me. And you know, sacrificing a heart, that's a pretty clever, like, it's a pretty clever idea of like a healer tune. But like, I just don't think it's the most effective, just the most effective method of healing. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. C tier. Now it's time for my #1 favorite tune in the game, Finn. Now, for being my favorite tune in the game, he's honestly, like, not that good of a tune. He's not that bad either, actually. Just, you know, his whole point is kind of like being all speedy and like running, but he clearly doesn't have enough stamina for that with his 2 stars of stamina. You know, his whole passive is just like speedy and stuff. You know, the only thing I have complaints about is his stamina. C. Alright, next up we have the B tier tune, starting with Tisha. Now, if we were talking about Distractor Tisha, I'd probably put this back at C, because like Distractor Tisha, she doesn't have the things like Pebble's high movement speed or Goob's low stealth. She doesn't have all that fancy stuff. She's possibly like the worst distractor you could get. But if we're talking about like support Tisha, like the extractor support Tisha, she's really good. She's really good, especially her ability, which anybody caught in the radius of the pulse that she creates when she uses her ability will get a movement speed boost of 25% for 5 seconds, which, you know, is really good for helping like slow tunes get into the elevator very quickly. B tier. Next up, we got Brittany. So Brittany, she's a pretty good tune, but the only reason I'm not putting her higher than B is mostly because of her stealth, and also the fact that you can't really use her ability much unless you're in a blackout, which, you know, doesn't really happen often. Even with, like, the max, blackout percentage chance, just 30%, you really get blackouts that much. So, yeah, B tier. Alright, next up, we got Gigi. The only reason I'm putting Gigi at, like, B, which is kind of, like, in the half, not really, actually, but the only reason why she's in this tier is because her ability is completely based off of luck. Like, you can either get, like, a stealth candy, or you can get a med kit. And, you know, another thing kind of dragging her down for not being at A tier is her stamina, which is really low. But, you know, you can use, like, trinkets to improve that, but, you know, it's just still kind of low. B tier. Alright, next up in B tier, we got the newest main, Bobette. Now, Bobette, like, she isn't a bad tune at all. I would say that she is the worst main tune, though, because, you know, her active ability, that's pretty useful, especially with her 2-star stealth. But her passive, you know, I can't really find an opportunity to really use that effectively, since, like, you can't just, like, stand in the middle of a distractor circle and, like, not expect to get, like, expect to not get seen by the Twisteds because of your stealth. The only way that this passive would effectively work with, like, distractors, as if your distractor had 2-star stealth and you had, like, a Diarion or something. That's, like, that's the only possible scenario that I can really think of using this ability in. B tier. Next up, we got Goob. And he's a pretty good distractor because, as I said earlier, he has 2-star stealth, which is really good for a distractor. But the only thing that's putting him in B and not anything higher is his movement speed. Because, like, sometimes there's gonna be, like, twisteds that are way faster than you, or some that's gonna make you way slower, you know. And, like, sometimes you just won't be able to distract because your movement speed, like, isn't 5 stars like Pebbles. And his ability is pretty good, especially if someone is AFK sitting in front of the elevator. It's pretty good for that. There's also other situations you could use it in, like if there's a slow tune trying to make it to the elevator, you could just pull them. Yeah, but he's pretty good. It's definitely high B. You know, I'm not really sure what to say about this one, because the next one up is Tegan. Yeah, I'm really just not sure what to say about Tegan or how to, like, justify my opinion. Yeah, so I'm just gonna put her in B. Next up, we got Flutter. Now, you can really tell that Flutter was designed to be a distractor with her 2-star skill check and 2-star extraction speed, and the rest of her stats. And her ability is really good, because, like, if there's, like, a fast twisted, like I was talking about earlier, the dash can really help you cover more distance without being too risky. So yeah, B tier. Alright, now we move on to the A tier tunes. Starting off with the strong one, V. Now, V is really good with her high skill check and high extraction speed. But the only reason I'm not putting her in, like, A+ or something like that is due to her movement speed and stealth. Sure, her extraction is really, really good, but her survivability is horrible, and I really don't think that you should be using extraction trinkets on V, just because she's already so good at extracting. Alright. And her abilities, they're pretty good though. Like her active, which highlights twisteds for 5 seconds, that can help distractors find twisteds really easily. And also her second ability, which can highlight machines for her. And this is also really useful because you can tell if it's GTE or not. Because if a machine is not being completed, it'll be highlighted with green, and if it is being completed, it'll be highlighted with white. So yeah, A tier. Now, this next one, despite being a starter tune, he's surprisingly good. And that starter tune is Boxton. You know, he has 3 stars all over the board, that's fine. But what I really want to highlight here is his passive ability, which gives him 6% more extraction speed for every live tune, which maxes at 48%. So if you're playing with a team who really knows what they're doing and, you know, won't really die that often, Boxton can be a really, really, really good extractor because of his extraction speed. And you can pair this with extraction trinkets to make it even faster. So yeah, A+. Alright, next up we got Astro. Astro is a really good support tune, especially since his active ability, similar to Tisha's active ability, creates a pulse around him, but instead of giving people speed, it regenerates their entire stamina bar, which is really good for, like, distractors. And unlike Bobette, you can actually use this on distractors who are in the process of distracting, because you have 5-star stealth instead of 2 like Bobette. And then another thing about Astro, which is really good, is his passive, which regenerates stamina faster, or regenerates stamina 50% faster than other tunes, and can also see tunes that are below 50 stamina around the map, which can really help with slow tunes getting to the elevator if they're really far away and are at low stamina. You can see where they are and then give them stamina. So yeah, he's really good. A tier for Astro. Next up with a really good one, we got Louis. Now Louis is a multi-class toon, which means he can extract and distract because he has 4-star skill check and 3 extraction speed, while also having 2-star stealth and 3-star movement speed. But the unique thing about Louis is that if he's missing like a heart, he gets faster. So if he is, if he's at 1 heart, he's gonna be really fast. But also at the same time, this means it's gonna be really risky for him distracting if he's gonna be sitting at 1 heart the whole time because of like, fast tunes and stuff like that. Maybe range tunes and like blackouts if you're not careful enough. There's stuff like that that's preventing me from putting him in A+, which makes me put him in A. Next up, we got Glisten. Glisten's a really good extractor. He has 5-star extraction speed, has 2-star skill check, which means you can't really use Mag Glass and Participation Award. I mean, I guess you can use it, but a very small skill check. But his ability is really good, because, if he's out of stamina or something, and he can't, make it to, if he can't make it to the elevator, he's, out of stamina, he can use this ability to teleport to someone who's already in the elevator, which is a really good ability, especially if you're, getting chased by a Twisted, you can teleport to somebody else and then lose that Twisted. Okay, so he's really good. Glisten gets A. Next up, we got Connie. Now, I really like Connie, mostly because I like characters with high stealth, and Connie's got just that. And her ability is even better, which is basically just a smoke bomb, which really helps since she only has 1-star movement speed and can't really get away from fast Twisteds that easily. So yeah, A tier for Connie. Alright, now we've got all the S tier tunes. These tunes are basically just the pinnacle of what the other tunes could be. Starting with Sprout. So Sprout has pretty good movement speed and stamina. He can be a pretty good distractor. Not really, actually. But his abilities are really good. Especially his passive, because his passive can see, what health people are at just anywhere on the map. Like, they get highlighted with hearts, like if they're at 2 hearts, it's like a slightly broken heart, and then if they're at 1 heart, it's a fully broken in half heart. It's really useful for a healer. And instead of healing with hearts like Ginger and Cosmo do, what Sprout does is use 100 tapes to heal someone. And you can use Fancy Purse for an early heal, but I wouldn't really recommend it. It's kind of a waste of a trinket slot. Anyways, S tier for Sprout. Alright, next up in S tier is my second favorite toon, Shelly. Because Shelly has 5-star skill check, which allows you to use Magnifying Glass and Participation Award, and that increases your extraction speed by a lot. And her active ability is really good since she can also increase the extraction speed of a selected toon by 75% for 15 seconds. If you were to put that on a toon with 5-star extraction speed like Glisten or V, the machine's gonna get completed so fast. And her passive, it's basically like Finn's. It's a little weaker though, but it's still just really, really good overall. Alright, S for Shelly. Alright, this is our final toon on the tier list. Can you guess who it is? Alright, I'll tell you. It's Pebble. Pebble has some pretty good stats, with him having 5-star movement speed, which is really useful for a distractor toon. And his Speak ability, his active ability, it's basically just an infinite air horn, which is really good for a distractor. And if you're like a secondary distractor and you're not distracting and there's like a Sprout on your team maybe, your passive ability will allow you to guide Sprout to like all the tapes around the map because all the items are highlighted for you. And yeah, just Pebble is a really a good tune overall. S tier. Alright, so that is the end of my tier list, and remember these are just purely based off of my opinion. If you were to rank any of the tunes differently, tell me how you would rank them in the comments. Alright, if you want to watch the rest of this, it's just gonna be all gameplay. Alright, bye.